Hello and welcome to the GH Additional Maths and Science Clinic for BC candidates. Our meeting times is 3 to 6 p.m. on Sundays. Always make it a point to join us and take part in these lessons, which would enhance your outcome in the impending BC. Now, this is mathematics lesson, and today we'll be looking at the concept of change of subject. In our previous lesson, we looked at change of subject with respect to the basics. We'll do a quick recap and use the remaining time to solve a series of questions. Then we'll look at how to substitute into equations. So we look first at change of subject and then substitution in equations. Alright, now when we talk about change of subject, it simply talks about an equation. Now in an equation you have the left hand side and the right hand side. So let me write an example. Let's take y is equal to mx plus c. Now this equation may look familiar because it's the equation of a straight line. Y is equal to mx plus c is the equation of a straight line. Now looking at this equation, y is the subject. Y is the subject because y is equal to the other half of the equation. Y is standing on one side of the equation and it equals mx plus c. Now when I give you the values for m, the values for x, the values for c, you can find what y is, or the value for y. However, I can choose to ask you to find me the value of m after giving you the other values, or the value of x, or the value of c. Now in any of these, what you are finding has to become the subject. When that becomes the subject, then you would have to calculate to find the other portion of the equation. Alright, now whenever you are given a change of subject to make one term or one letter the subject, you first need to look at what prevents that letter from standing alone. So in this question, let's make x the subject. So we are making x the subject. Now you realize that x is not standing alone. On the right hand side is x. However, x is bound by m, so it is mx. In addition, it is added to c. So before we can do this or make x the subject, we would have to find a way of clearing all these items from the x before x can become the subject. Now whenever you are making an item or a letter the subject, if it is added or subtracted to something, that is what you clear first. So you first clear the addition or the subtraction portion. So for example, in this one, I would want to clear the plus c because the term mx is added to the plus c. Now, like you know always, if you want to clear the plus c, you just have to cross the equal sign. So I will write y is equal to mx plus c. The plus c crosses the equal sign, and then the addition becomes subtraction. So it becomes y minus c on the left hand side. Meanwhile, on the right hand side, we have only the mx which is left. Only the mx which is left. So y minus c is equal to mx. So that's our first step. You deal with the addition subtraction bit. Now, looking at mx, m is attached to x because of a multiplication sign, although we do not write it. So whenever you see mx, see it as m times x. Now, if this is m times x, then I told you earlier that multiplication and division goes together. That means that to split m and x, you would need to divide by a term. Now, because you want to let x stand alone, you divide by m. Meanwhile, the left-hand side is also left, so you need to deal with it. So you have y minus c. And for an equation, what you do to the right, you do the same thing to the left. So y minus c over m. So you do the same thing to the left-hand side. Now, on the right-hand side, where you are dealing with x and making x stand alone, this m can cancel that m. Now, if you do that, x will now be standing alone. So on the right-hand side, we have our x. On our left-hand side, we have y minus c over m. Now, as always, because we are making x the subject, we will write the x first. So it will become x is equal to y minus c over m. We have successfully made x the subject. Alright, now let's look at an instance where we have a square root. We have a square root or a square. So y squared is equal to x squared t plus m. Now in this equation, your questioner says make x the subject. And if you are making x the subject, the usual processes will take place. Now, your first thing to clear is the addition and subtraction portion. So this portion, it is added, so it will cross the equal sign to become subtraction. So it will become y squared minus m is equal to x squared t. Y squared minus m is equal to x squared t. Now, we are making x the subject. We have x squared times t. So we first need to clear the t. And because it is times or multiplication, we would use division. So divided by t here, then same thing on the left-hand side. That is for equation. So you cancel this. On the left-hand side, there's nothing to cancel. So this will give you x squared on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, we have y squared minus m over t. At this point, we have succeeded in making x squared the subject. Not x, but x squared. So we have x squared is equal to y squared minus m all over t. However, we would need to make x the subject, but it has a square. That square sign can only be cleared by finding a square root on both sides. So find square root on both sides. Now to find square root of both sides, just put the square root sign on x squared. Then on the right hand side, it goes over every other thing. So y squared minus m over t. Y squared minus m over t. That is what would be on the right hand side. So at this point, the square root sign in the square can cancel, and that was the reason why we brought in the square root sign. So if it cancels, now you have x standing alone and it's equal to the right hand side of the equation, y squared minus m over t. So that's the outcome. Now in the next question, I'll give you a question to solve yourself. So once you take the question, you pause the video and you try to solve it yourself. So let's take a question. B squared minus m squared t is equal to r. Make m the subject. So you are making m the subject. Alright, so pause the video and then solve it yourself. Alright, so I expect that you were able to do it, but let's do it together. So you have b squared minus m squared t is equal to r, but we are making m the subject. Now you realize that b squared is added or subtracted from m squared t. In this case, the b squared is positive because there's no sign in front of it. So it will cross the equal sign. Now when the b squared crosses, it will leave negative m squared t is equal to r minus b squared. Now the b squared has left the m squared t, and it is now there with the t. So m squared and then t. Now our first point here, we have a negative sign, and we need to rule out that negative that is against the m squared before we come and deal with the square root. So to clear the negative sign, you multiply through the whole equation by negative. So multiply through by negative. So it will become m squared t is equal to minus r plus b squared, because the negative is making every negative positive, and it's making every positive negative. So this negative is made positive by becoming m squared t is equal to negative times r becomes negative r. Then negative times this negative will make it positive b squared. Now at this point, we still have the m not standing alone. So we have to clear the t. And like you know, m squared t is the same as m squared times t. So we use division to free the m squared. So we divide by the term which is interfering, that is t, on this side. Then on the right, you divide by t again. Now we have m squared is equal to negative r plus b squared all over t. Now let's look at the numerator here. We can leave it as minus r plus b squared, or we can reposition it so that the b squared becomes the first, since it has a positive sign, and then the negative r will become the second. So this same thing can be rewritten as b squared minus r over t. Now for many of you, you get easily tricked in an examination when the objective answer doesn't have your answer. Sometimes it is just by this rearrangement or a multiplication through by a negative sign that makes it seem your answer is not there. So as always, when you are finished solving, compare your answer with what is there, then check if you can rearrange your answer to suit the objective options. Then that will show that it is your answer. So let's continue. So we have m squared is equal to b squared minus r over t. But m squared is not what we are finding. We are finding m. So you do the square root of m squared, then do the square root of the right hand side. That is b squared minus r over t. Now on the left hand side, the square root sign and the 2 will cancel out, leaving m alone to be equal to b squared minus r over t. This is the m made the subject. That's your final answer. Circle that in red for you. So we have P is equal to 2 into bracket A plus B. There is a past question, that is BC 1995. In 1995, all of you were not born. Alright, that was by the way. So BC 1995. Now this question 17, is P is equal to 2 into bracket A plus B, bracket closed. And students were supposed to make A the subject. Make A the subject. Now A is on the right hand side and it is cut up in a bracket. So you need to clear that bracket. So you write P is equal to, then you open the bracket out. 2 times A is 2A plus 2 times B is 2B. Now you want the A to stand alone, but it is being interfered by plus 2B, so it will cross the equal sign. So it becomes P minus 2B to become negative is equal to 2A. Now P minus 2B is equal to 2A is the current state. You would need to make A the subject, but you have 2A. So you realize that 2A is the same as 2 times A. So what do? Divide both sides by 2. Divide this one 2 by 2. So this 2 will cancel that 2. But on the left hand side, don't be tempted to think that this 2 can cancel that 2. No, it is not possible. It is not possible. It is not possible. So don't be tempted to think that this can cancel that. It is not possible. So we have P minus 2B over 2 is equal to A. So making A the subject, write the A first. We have A is equal to P minus 2B over 2. That is your final answer. Now in an examination, the examiner can write for an objective test the answer to be negative 2B plus P over 2. Don't get confused. It is just the top that have been repositioned, but it is the same answer. This one is negative 2. Yes, it's negative 2. This one is P. Yes, it is P. So that answer stays so. It is the correct answer. Okay. So I'll give you a next question, and I expect that you solve that yourself. Now let's look at this question. And this is also a past question. That is BC 1997, question 12. So the question goes, if R is equal to 1 over 2 into bracket A plus B bracket closed K, find K in terms of R, A, and B. Now on the surface it may not look like change of subject, but it is change of subject. You are finding K, or better still, making K the subject. So let's try this. Now in this question, we have a fraction of half. Now last time I told you that if you have a denominator, it will be fine to clear the denominator so that it will be easier to deal with your equation. So our first step is to multiply through by 2. Why are we multiplying through by 2? So that this denominator of 2 of the fraction half would be cleared. So we would have 2 times R is equal to 2 times half into bracket A plus B K. Now note that the 2 that we multiplied on the right hand side was used once. We use it once because all these items, 1 over 2, is separated by the next term with multiplication. A plus B, because it is in one bracket, we take it as one term. And then next to it is K. So it is 1 over 2 times A plus B times K. Now once they are joined by multiplication, either with a bracket or written next to each other, we will not see them as individual terms, but one term. That's why you are multiplying through by 2, just 1 2. On the left hand side, we multiply through by 2. So the outcome on the left hand side will become 2R. On the right hand side, this 2 would cancel that 2, and that's the reason why I brought these 2, just to cancel this out. So we left it 1 times the bracket, but I know 1 would bring no effect, so we write into bracket A plus B bracket closed K. Now some of you may be tempted to leave the bracket out. No, in this instance the bracket will still stay because it is multiplying the K. Until you multiply through by the K, the bracket can't be opened. Alright, our agenda is to make K the subject. K the subject. So you ask yourself, what is not making the k stand alone? Then you realize that it is the a plus b which is causing this wahala. It is the a plus b causing this wahala. So this problem can be solved by clearing the a plus b. Can be solved by clearing the a plus b. So we divide through both the left hand side and the right hand side by that a plus b. So let's go. Left hand we have 2r over a plus b is equal to the right hand side we have a plus b bracket closed k. That one 2 over a plus b. Now on the left hand side there is nothing you can do, it cannot cancel out. But on the right hand side a plus b will cancel a plus b. So you have k is equal to 2r on a plus b. K is equal to 2r over a plus b. So if you are making k the subject, it becomes k is equal to 2r over a plus b. Change of subject. So try and copy the question yourself. Don't look on the slide and solve the question without looking on, and compare your answer to make sure that you've gotten it right. Okay. So our next question is t squared is equal to 4 pi squared capital T over G. This is a past question, BEC 2005, objective question 25. Now in this question you are asked to make capital T the subject. Make capital T the subject. Now in making capital T the subject, it means you need to clear every other thing that is interfering with the capital T from standing alone. So our first step is to clear the denominator. The denominator here is G. So you multiply G, the equation through by G. So G on the left hand side, G on the right hand side. This is what sometimes you call cross multiply. But the reality is that you are multiplying the left hand side by G and the right hand side by G. So left hand side, G times small t squared. Right hand side, 4 pi squared capital T over G. Then times this new G. So on the left hand side, this G will cancel G. On the right hand side, it will become gt squared is equal to 4 pi squared capital T. Now what are we doing? We are making capital T the subject. So then you ask yourself, what is not making the capital T stand alone? Then you realize that it has 4 pi squared attached to the capital T. 4 pi squared attached to the capital T. Now, for you to free the capital T means that you need to divide through by 4 pi squared. Why don't you do subtraction but you do division? We are doing division because 4 pi squared is attached to the capital T by multiplication sign. There's a multiplication sign here which we do not write. So once there's a multiplication sign, then it is division that you would use to free the T. I've told you that multiplication and division go together. Addition and subtraction also go together. So in this question, we will divide both left hand side and right hand side by 4 pi squared. But first let's write what we have. So we have gt squared is equal to 4 pi squared capital T. So on the left hand side, divide by 4 pi squared. On the right hand side, divide by 4 pi squared. So the right hand side, this will cancel this. The left hand side stays the same. So you'd have t still left there. You have gt squared on the left hand side over 4 pi squared, also dividing it on the left hand side. So at the end of the day, we succeeded in making t stand alone. But for proper writing, we write the t is equal to gt squared over 4 pi squared. I've made t the subject. This is how you are supposed to write it as your final answer. And then when I see that, you get your full mark. Great. So we'll move on to substitution into equations. And then we'll do some examples. Then I'll give you questions to solve for the day. So we move on. Now we look at substitution in equations. Substitution in equations. Now the concept of change of subject has a role to play when you are doing calculations, not only in your maths, but then in your science. Then when you go to secondary school, if you are doing economics, you would need change of subject. You are doing physics, you need change of subject. Any subject that there's a calculation, there's a relevance of change of subject there. Now you may not be doing raw change of subject, but you'll be substituting values into equations, and that is what we are about to do. Now in this question, we have c is equal to b squared plus 4r over 2ar. Now you are asked to find c, then they've given the values of the other letters. When b is equal to 3, r is equal to 4, and a is equal to 5. So what you do is, any place you see these values, you put these numbers there. So c is equal to b squared. So what is b? That is 3. So 3 squared plus 4r. What is r? R is 4. All over 2a. What is a? 5. And then 2ar. What is the r? That is 4. So our next step. So c will be equal to, so let's express these 9. 3 squared is 9. So 9 plus 4 times 4 is 16. All over 2 times 5 times 4. 2 times 5 is 10. 10 times 4 is 40. So for the numerator, you have 9 plus 16. 9 plus 16 is 25 over 40. That is C. Now in an examination, you would be tempted to keep your answer as this, but when you get to the objective answers, your answer will not be there. For example, we have found C to be 25 over 40. This is a past question, and in the answers they've given 19 over 40. Very tempting. If you don't take it, you think, oh, it's supposed to be over 40, so let me choose it like that. No. So you need to deal with your answer to suit what is available. So let's reduce 25 over 40 to its lowest term. By observation, you can realize that 25 will be divided by 5. 40 would also be divided by 5 to give you 8. So the answer can also be C is equal to 5 over 8 in its lowest term. When you check the answers of that question, the answer was D, and the answer was 5 over 8. So always bear in mind that your question may not have the same answers as you get, but you can still change your answers to suit that situation. Now in this example, we are supposed to, it says if t is equal to p squared plus 1, find p when t is equal to 10. Find p when t is equal to 10. Now 10 has been given, so you put it into the equation. So the equation is t is equal to p squared plus 1. You place the t by 10, becomes 10 is equal to p squared plus 1. But the question says we should find p, but we have p squared here, so a concept of change of subject comes in. But before then, we need to let the p stand alone. So the plus 1 has to cross the equal sign. When it crosses, it becomes negative. So it is 10 minus 1 on the left hand side is equal to p squared. What is 10 minus 1? 9. So 9 is equal to p squared. So that's our first answer we're getting. P squared is equal to 9. But we are not looking for P, we are not looking for P squared, so we are looking for P. So we have to find a square root on the left hand side and a square root on the right hand side. This square root sign will cancel the square. So to give us P is equal to, now the square root of 9 in essence is the plus and the minus value of the square root of 9, which is 3. But regularly we take 3 as the answer. So P is equal to 3. But in an exams, when you have, for the objectives, you have -3 as the only answer that is close, bear in mind that when you find the square root of a number, it is the plus and the minus of that number. Because +3 times +3 is +9. And -3 times -3 is +9. Meaning that the square root of any number is both the positive and the negative outcome. So bear that in mind. But in this question, the objective answer that was given is +3. So you are comfortably choosing the 3. But bear in mind that you can be tricked and they will leave the positive answers out and leave only negative answers. Don't be tempted to think it is wrong. Okay, great. So we'll solve one more question. Then you would have to take your assignment for the day. So in this question, you are not seeing an equation, but you are seeing an algebraic expression. Now let's look at the rubric that goes with this. It says, given that x is equal to 4 and y is equal to 7, evaluate 2xy plus 3 into bracket x plus y. This is just last year, 2021 BEC question 13. So you are not seeing an equation, but you are seeing an algebraic expression, but you are still made to evaluate or substitute your values in here. So evaluate. Alright. Now let's write out the question and do the substitution. So 2xy plus 3x plus y. So where you see x, you put 4. When you see y, you put 7. So 2, there's x here, so 4, and then y, so that will be replaced by 7. Plus 3, to bracket 4, plus the y is what? 7. So this first one is 2 times 4 times 7. 2 times 4 times 7. 2 times 4 is 8. Then 7 times 8 is 56. So 5, 6 here, plus 3 into brackets. 4 plus 7 is 11. But you have to solve the brackets first. Now 3 times 11 is 33. And then plus 56. So let's add it longitudinally like you do always. 6 plus 3 is 9. 5 plus 3 is 8. So your answer is 89. 89. 89 is option B in the objective question where we picked this question from. So great. We would pause here and we would look at the following questions which you are supposed to submit just after going through this video. Thank you. So you pause these and then write the question. So please pause and copy the question. So I'll go to the next question. So this is question 2. So copy this one by pausing and then writing it out and going to the next question. So please pause and write out the question. So this is question 3. So pause it and write out the question. Then you solve. So this one too, you solve it by writing out the question. So you have to pause, solve, and then you send your assignment. And then your final question is this. So pause, write out the question, and then solve. And after solving, you would attach your answers. Each question is supposed to be on a page, a fresh page. Each question should be on a fresh page. So please take note of that. Each question is supposed to be on a fresh page. So please take note of that. All right. Thank you. All right. So this is the end of the lesson. Your assignments are supposed to be submitted by 12 midnight today. So please, the lesson was short, but then the assignment is supposed to keep your understanding solid. So immediately get your paper or your book, solve one question per page, and take a nice snapshot and upload. The way to upload your questions has been put on the website already, or your web page. So look for it, look at the steps to attach your answers, and please, your snapshots should be very nice. That is very important. Your snapshots should be very nice. It should be clear so that marking will be done easily. Thank you very much.